I almost titled this episode, Your Multivitamin is a Waste of Money, and Here's Why. But I'm probably going to save that title for another episode. Instead, I'm going to talk to you about how your metabolism works and how you can improve it. And what I mean by improving it is boosting your energy, increasing your endurance, having improved overall health, boosted immunity, boosted digestion, and better hormonal balance in today's episode. I am Ashley Drummond, so welcome to the Phoenix Rising podcast. I have been in the health, fitness, nutrition industry for over 15 years as a personal trainer, certified nutrition, a certified strength and conditioning coach, and have helped men and women of all ages, shapes, and sizes really transform their bodies and transform their lives. I am a nerd about everything about the body. So in today's episode, I am going to give you not only my own experience and knowledge on helping you better understand how your metabolism works so that you can have optimal health, but I am going to give you the science behind it too, so that you can really understand the production of energy, your cells, your immune system, and everything in the body. So to start with this, in order to understand how the metabolism works, you have to first understand how energy is produced in the body. And this is a complex process that I am hoping I can simplify for you so that food no longer becomes something about weight loss, and it becomes more about understanding that it is fuel for your body and that you need carbs, fats, and protein to really have optimal health and to just utilize a process called the Krebs cycle and glycolysis and ATP production, which we're going to get into. All right. By the way, if you have not already, be sure to subscribe, as I am constantly putting out new content to help you really reach peak performance and become your strongest and best self. So hit the subscribe button. We'll go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so to get started with understanding your metabolism, we're going to talk about ATP. ATP is a molecule that carries energy throughout the body. It carries it throughout your cells, through your organs, and the reason it does this is because it is making sure that each function in your body has enough fuel to work properly. The way that ATP is produced is we consume food, so we consume the nutrients of protein, carbs, and fats. It goes into our gut. It gets broken down by a process called glycolysis and converted into glucose. Then there's two things that have to happen. You either have to have aerobic or anaerobic exercise that then takes that glucose and turns it into ATP. So aerobic exercise would be things like cardiovascular exercise, walking, jogging, running. Anaerobic would be your exercise that's weightlifting, resistance training, and strength training. So that is a very basic definition of ATP production. But now we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper because there's very significant things your body needs, and why I said I almost called this that your multivitamin is garbage, and here's why, is because there's specific vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that have to be a part of this process for everything to work efficiently and properly. And most of the multivitamins that you take or that are even out there on the market don't even come close to the dosage that you need or even in the form that your body needs. But we're going to get into that in a second. So let's talk about ATP a little bit more. So the most widely used source for producing ATP is glucose. Glucose comes from carbohydrates. So there's actually been studies done that show that high-fat diets, aka keto, lower the production of ATP in the body. And there's many people who have done keto and it works great short term, but then long term what ends up happening is you start to have low hormone production, you start to have an increase in cortisol, you start having brain fog, you start having low energy. And the reason being is because the body is running out of glucose to produce ATP, the energy source. Glucose is literally what our cells, mitochondria, use to convert food energy into ATP energy. This is why it's so important. Glucose, so you consume this food like we talked about, protein, carbohydrates, and fat. It goes through the intestines. It then goes to the liver. You have multiple processes, detox systems. You have phase 1, phase 2, where you consume all this. It goes through the intestines to the liver. The liver stores glucose. It is a glucose storehouse. It's because it is part of the process that helps give you energy, and it gets stored in the liver. This is also whenever you work out and you do high intensity exercise, your body releases those glycogen stores to give you energy to get through the exercise. But then when you finish exercising and you feel completely depleted, it's because your glycogen stores have been completed. So your liver stores glucose. The other area that stores glucose are your muscles. Your muscles are a place that store water, protein, glucose, carbohydrates. This is why when people do low carb diets, they also tend to look kind of flat. They don't have that same like nice 3D effect or like very like toned muscular effect. It's because the muscles do not have enough glucose in there to hold on to that look and hold on to that image. So glucose is necessary. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about intermittent fasting and keto and how I am not a huge fan of it. It serves its purpose for certain situations. If you are somebody who is very overweight, have a large amount of weight to lose, then temporarily doing something like intermittent fasting and keto can be beneficial. But from a long-term sustainable standpoint for not just overall physique and aesthetics to maintain lean muscle mass and have a certain body composition, but also from an overall health standpoint, your body has to have enough glucose for your cells to function properly, to produce ATP in order to have your organs working right, your immune system, your hormone production, and your health. So this is kind of like a complex overview of your metabolism. Like a lot of people think, I want to boost my metabolism and make it faster. And it's like, well, do you need to make it faster and boost it? Because if you really understand how that works, then you understand that it's not about boosting your metabolism. It's about giving your body the proper fuel that it needs based on your specific needs in order to function optimally while maintaining a certain physique. The other thing too is when you start to reduce some of those macronutrients that your body needs and your cells need, you start cutting out carbs, you start going way too low on calories. So you are expending way more than you're actually consuming. Your metabolism, and AKA the process of producing energy in the body, has to slow down. Otherwise, if it is up to a higher level and a higher need, things are going to start to malfunction and shut down. If your body needs 2,000 calories a day to function optimally before you start having problems, and you're cutting it to 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day over a long period of time, your metabolism, the energy production, everything has to meet what you are giving it. Otherwise, it does not have enough fuel for mitochondrial function, for hormone health, for brain health, and all of that. That's the bigger issue here. So how do you boost your metabolism based on a lot of the information that I'm giving you? You understand everything that I've explained to you, that metabolism, if you're not watching, those are air quotes, it's literally the process by like your body taking the calories and the food that you're consuming, converting it into energy, and then you expending that energy through aerobic or anaerobic exercise. If you do not expend that energy, and the question comes up of like, all right, Ashley, well, if I'm consuming protein, carbs, and fats, and I am getting all my macronutrients, why do I feel tired? And why do I feel like I don't have enough energy? Well, if you're consuming all of that, are you doing one of the two necessary exercises that your body needs to take all that food and convert it into ATP? Are you either being aerobically active or anaerobically active? So your body can take oxygen along with everything else that you consume, give you energy in your body to function properly and to boost your overall immune health? Or are you consuming a lot of food and sitting around all day? Because you're doing your body a disservice if you're consuming, but you're not exercising. You can't do one without the other. And recently I had somebody send me a message and they were saying, hey, there's all this stuff, like one person that I follow puts all the emphasis on fitness and like workouts. And so you can work out and then eat whatever you want, but then somebody else put the entire emphasis on nutrition and like less emphasis on working out. Which one should I focus on? And the explanation that I gave this person was, you can't do one or the other. Your body has to have exercise in order to keep your immune system healthy, because the way that we detox our body is through sweat and through our breathing, our lungs. There's a process when you inhale the air around you, your body detoxes and cleanses all these systems in your body, and then you exhale it. Inhale and exhale. There's also when you take in oxygen and you've consumed food, your body uses that, like I've mentioned, to produce ATP. However, if you're consuming food, but you're not exercising, not only is your body not detoxing to the best of its ability, but also it's not converting all the food you're eating into energy to the best of its ability. So you can't do one without the other. If you want to boost your metabolism and improve your metabolism, you need to not only eat the right amount of food, protein, carbs, and fats based on your personal needs, depending on like male, female, if you're highly active, if you're more sedentary, what your goal weights are and your age and all those things. But then you also have to exercise in a way that complements that, a good combination of anaerobic and aerobic exercise, not just one or the other. If you're doing too much weightlifting, then you're also not working on your cardiovascular health. But then if you're not doing any weightlifting, you're not really working on replenishing your glycogen stores, but also building lean muscle, which naturally lean muscle burns more calories at rest than fat does. There's a lot of different components that you have to have other than just like, should I focus on my food or should I focus on my fitness? It's not an either or. If you want to boost and improve your metabolism, learn ATP, learn the mitochondria of the cell, which the mitochondria is like kind of like a protective little barrier around the cell. And when we're under stress or if we have chronic illnesses, anything that can like add extra stress to the body, it can start to compromise the mitochondria around the cell. On top of that, there's certain vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that are needed to activate the mitochondria and keep it working functionally and optimally. So there's kind of three parts this happens. And like, we'll use the aerobic part as the example, is like you have aerobic form of exercise, which then induces the process of glycolysis, which is basically food being broken down, which then starts something called the Krebs cycle, which we're going to get into the Krebs cycle in just a second. And then you have electrons transport. So you have to have step 1 and 2, consume protein, fats, and carbohydrates is number 1. Step 2 is you have to have aerobic or anaerobic in order to activate the food that you eat. And then we're going to get into the part about the Krebs cycle. So the Krebs cycle, if you imagine like a circle, and each time something on this circle is checked off, it activates another part of the circle, like a wheel almost. Step 3 in this Krebs cycle can't even happen if you are deficient in specific B vitamins, C vitamins, minerals like magnesium, chromium, potassium, sodium, all these things. And you can actually have issues with how the conversion to energy happens, along with other systems in the body too, of what happens with those as well. For example, B1, which is also called thiamine, is super important. It is super important in mitochondrial function, and they are actually finding like B1 is like top of the line for the Krebs cycle in activating all kinds of cellular repair. And part of that is because B1 is needed to convert something called pyruvate into acetyl-CoA, which is essential in ATP production. So why would anybody ever be deficient in B1 and thiamine? So your B vitamins in general are water soluble. Water soluble means that you pee them out, you sweat them out. Your B vitamins are also really important for stress. So when you're under more stress, you tend to be more depleted in your B vitamins. B1 also too, if you have allergies or if you've had a chronic illness, there's a lot of reasons you can be low in B1. The thing though is when you consume a multivitamin and it says B1, more than likely it is not in a great form. One of the most common forms is thiamine mononitrate or thiamine hydrochloride. And these are very cheap forms of B1, but it's also probably not in a dosage that is actually impactful. It's probably like 10 milligrams or like 20 milligrams or something like that, when you need a much higher dose for it to be more impactful in your body. So if you're low in B1, and that's like the top of the chain for mitochondrial function in the Krebs cycle, everything already is offset and you start having a little bit of issues going on in your body's ability to produce ATP for immune system, for overall health, for brain, all these things. Along with, you then have B6. Vitamin B6, also water soluble because it's a B vitamin, is responsible for your neurotransmitter production. So your neurotransmitter production is your serotonin levels, your dopamine levels, GABA, everything you need to have a healthy brain comes up from vitamin B6. So then we go back to the issues with multivitamins again. Almost like, I want to say, like, don't quote me on this because I'm not stating this as like a scientific fact, but based on what I have seen in the market, 90% of the vitamin B6 that's out there is pyridoxine. This is a synthetic, chemical, cheap form of vitamin B6 that is not active, which means it's harder for your body to utilize this form of B6. The problem with this is they have found that high doses of this form of B6 can actually cause nerve damage because it's not in the activated form that is readily available for your body to use. Then we get into the dosage. Very small dosages are not that impactful. You're talking like 5 to 10 milligrams, which isn't going to make much of a difference. And having that in the cheaper synthetic form isn't going to do much either. But B6 is also something a lot of people tend to be deficient in, especially if you are active or an athlete. You are constantly sweating this out. You are constantly going through all of your B vitamins. So then we've got B1, I'm just looking at my notes over here to make sure I tell you guys everything in here. We've got B1, we've got B6, B5, extremely important. So B5 is the one that's really important for stress balance. It's also very important for proper adrenal function. Why is proper adrenal function important? Well, your adrenals, two tiny little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, they are responsible for your hormonal health, for cortisol production, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all these things. They also help produce cortisol. When you have been highly stressed, or if you are overtraining, or if you are not consuming enough energy through carbohydrates, protein, and fat, your adrenals become stressed and they start to get fatigued. And then you start having problems with low DHEA or DHEAs, low testosterone, low estrogen, low progesterone, and all those things because the adrenals are taxed. Vitamin B5, water soluble, is important for maintaining healthy adrenal function. And there's other things that are important for adrenal function too. We're just talking about things in the Krebs cycle. So when you're low in B5, you end up having issues with your stress hormones. You end up having issues with productive hormones and cortisol regulation and cortisol balance. Most multivitamins out there are not giving you enough of the dosage or in the activated form that your body can utilize B5. Then we get into vitamin B12. This is like the whole fad right now. Everybody's taking B12. Nobody knows why they're taking it. They know they're taking it for energy. Oh, you're tired? Take some B12. B12 helps with the metabolism of carbohydrates. If you're on a low carb diet and you're taking B12, you are counteracting what your body needs. B12 is also important for melatonin production. It's also important for red blood cell production, which then is important in iron and carrying and transferring oxygen to the brain. Most athletic people, men and women, tend to be low in iron, not because you're not consuming enough red meat necessarily, but if you're low in iron, it usually means that you're also low in vitamin C and vitamin B12 because both of those help with iron absorption. And you need all of those together in the right amount in order to convert your food into energy, to produce more red blood cells and carry oxygen throughout the body. The B12 that is out there, number one, is probably in the cheapest form that there is, which I never say this properly, but it's CYNA cyanocobalamin. I don't ever say it right, but I almost guarantee you that is the form that your B12 is in. The problem is this is not an activated form, and if it's consumed in high amounts, can cause a lot of problems. But most of the ones that are on the market are going to be cyanocobalamin, and it's going to be in a dosage that isn't impactful at all. And I'm talking like 100 to 200 milligrams. Most athletic people need 500 to 1,000 milligrams of vitamin B12, and they need it in the active methylated form. All of these things, though, we have just talked about like B vitamins that your body needs in order to activate this thing called the Krebs cycle. I would highly encourage you to, just for your own education, look at what the chart of the Krebs cycle looks like. You're probably going to get a lot of chemistry and science, but just so you can understand a little bit of what I am referring to, because if you are doing everything right, I'm consuming enough fats, protein, and carbs. If you don't know how much fat, protein, and carbs you need, check out the description, because I have an entire video where I literally will give you the numbers, the math, and the calculation to figure out what you need based on your body age and all those things to make sure you're getting enough food and in the right amount to hit your goals. So if you need to see that, check out that video on how to find your daily macros. But if you're consuming, you're consuming enough of the right food, you're doing both aerobic and anaerobic exercise, and you're still having issues, more than likely there's a kink in the wheel of ATP production, again, aka your metabolism, and turning food into energy because of a vitamin, a micronutrient, or mineral deficiency. So with all of this, my whole intention is simply to educate you on how this works. So the amount of people who I see out there that are taking fat burners, taking quote unquote metabolism boosters, taking hormone replacement therapy and all these things because they're like, well, I want to boost my metabolism, or I have bad genes, or I just can't lose a little bit of weight. I am explaining to you literally the science behind how this works. You have to consume the right amount of carbs, fats, and protein. You have to then do some sort of aerobic or anaerobic exercise so that your body can convert this food into energy. The mitochondria can carry it and convert it into ATP. Then you have to have the right vitamins and minerals and enough of them as an athletic person or an active person for the entire Krebs cycle process to work so that every cell, organ, and function in your body is getting the energy that it needs to work optimally. There's no fat burner that is going to do that for you. There is no special supplement that can boost your metabolism with green tea extract or whatever else it says. The only thing that can help you with that is basic food, nutrition, vitamins, and minerals. So if you want to improve your metabolism, you want to boost your overall genetic makeup and drop weight, get lean, get strong, fit, and healthy, the way you do that is go check out the episode and figure out the exact macronutrients you need. Start eating that way on a regular basis. Then try out one of the workouts that I post over on my YouTube channel that are all based on strength training and metabolic conditioning. So you're getting aerobic and anaerobic conditioning. Then make sure the daily nutrients, micronutrients you are taking are in the right form and in the right dosage that actually make an impact in your overall ATP production, metabolism, your body's ability to convert glucose in foods that you consume into an energy source in the body. That's it. If you ever see a company selling you a fat burner, you should probably steer clear because it's garbage and what they're doing is marketing to you. If you ever take a supplement that they're promising like it's going to boost your metabolism, I guarantee you on the back of that supplement, it's probably just a bunch of B vitamins and maybe some green tea extract extract or caffeine that gives you energy. Guaranteed. I'm telling you the science and the truth behind it and how the Krebs cycle and the ATP production works. What I would love to hear from you is, did you find this video helpful? And if so, what more do you want to hear that I can help you with your nutrition and fitness goals to help you feel your absolute best? I put the links to those other videos in the description for you so you can check them out if you haven't already. That way you know exactly the food you need. But until next time, be sure to subscribe, share this video with anybody who would really benefit from this. And I'll see you in some of the other episodes of the Phoenix Rising Podcast. Bye, guys.